I had Logan Paul on my podcast.
Would Logan do it with me?
Logan would kick your ass, I think. You're riding a fantastic wave. How could you not make some mistakes along the way?
How can you be for small government and then have the government dictate all these things in your personal life, right? You idiots. You got it completely wrong.
Can't you just wake up and stop? I was walking down the hallway like a darted bull with a needle sticking out of my ass.
Tell me the 5 steps to the getting to the point where someone like you would say, I want this guy in my life. I want to help this guy.
Hey, Jordan Belfort here, the Wolf of Wall Street. Welcome to the Wolf's Den. We got an awesome show for you today. As always, it's a hybrid where I start off talking about a specific topic, and then we bring on a guest, or in this case, 2 guests, to crystallize the things I spoke about. You'll find this really interesting. Topic for today is basically how to move through life without getting screwed in bad negotiations. Because the people that I'm going to bring on after this really got their clock clean. It cost them from becoming millionaires. So let me tell you about how you can become an expert negotiator in 1 step. Now, let me just be real with you. There's great courses out there on negotiation. I teach them. They're extensive. There are many different modules it could take. Could take a few weeks to really learn everything there is to know about becoming an expert negotiator. But for this particular podcast, I'm going to give you that one distinction that into itself can save you so much heartache and can make you just an infinitely better negotiator, and make sure that you don't end up in the position these guys ended up in where they can look back now and say, oh my God, if only I would have known better, I would not have missed out on X million dollars. And we all have these moments that we go through in life when we look back and say, damn, I just made a really poor decision there because I didn't know, or I got out-negotiated and essentially ended up on the short end of everything, right? So let's talk about that, and let's talk about how to avoid that, right? So when I teach negotiating, I break it down into modules, but there's one overarching principle here that I'm going to drill into you right now. If you just know this, you're basically protected from the doomsday scenario. And that is, before you enter any negotiation, you need to know what the negotiating landscape actually looks like. Let me repeat that. Before you enter any negotiation, you need to know exactly what the negotiating landscape looks like. What does that mean in layman's terms? Well, you have to know what a great deal actually looks like. What does it mean to win? What would you get? If you were like a great negotiator, like me, I'm a great negotiator. I know everything there is to know about it, and I teach it, right? What would JB get? If he was negotiating, what would be a similar outcome? That's called knowing what the winning negotiation looks like, and what does a bad negotiation look like? If I lose, if I don't do well, what does that look like? You see, what happens with most people is they enter into negotiations not really knowing what they're supposed to get if they win. So they end up either asking for ridiculous things, in which case they're viewed as being idiots, as being, the guy who's out to lunch basically doesn't even know what they're talking about. Like, it's the person that walks into a car dealership and demands a price that the dealer simply could never give them. That person not only walks out with no car because they get destroyed selling them the car, but they walk out looking like morons, and word spreads quickly in this town, especially, in this town, this world, right? With social media, you get to be known as someone who really is kind of not that quick on the uptake. So in other words, the question really is what should I be asking for? What should I not settle for less than? And how do I find out what those 2 things are? Let me tell you a story here, and it has to do with venture capital and raising money. This is a very important conversation to have. So you might want to take out a pen and paper, or at least maybe, put some notes on your smartphone here. If you're listening, if you're driving, don't do that, right? But some of the stuff I'm going to say to you here is just absolutely golden, right? It's nuggets, right? So I'm going to tell you the story of Steve Madden's shoes. Now, many of you have seen the movie and not read the book, so you probably have sort of a skewed version of what happened. In the movie, they would have it that Steve Madden was this, ultra hot women's designer, the most coveted shoe company out there, and we got lucky to take him public because my partner was his childhood friend, right? That was the story, and the truth is entirely different. Steve Madden eventually became the hottest shoe designer out there. But when Steve first came to me, he was nobody but a young guy with a great talent for designing shoes, and he had no money and basically no business to speak of. In fact, he was selling shoes out of the trunk of his car. That was it. He had one shoe. It's called the Maryland. He had like 5 or 6 he was making at a local cobbler. He'd run around, sell them in stores, and then go back and use that money and get more shoes made. That was Steve Madden shoes. And my friend and junior partner, Danny, who was his childhood friend of Steve, right? He came to me and said, hey, I think we could maybe take this guy, Steve Madden, and turn it into a real business and one day take it public. So it was a stone cold startup. So he brought Steve Madden. Crazy to think of it now, right? Because it's the biggest shoe company in the world. So he brought young Steve Madden into my office. And by the way, I say young Steve Madden, who was 10 years older than me at the time, right? But young Steve Madden when he was in his mid-30s, right? And, ponytail, same Steve Madden you probably see today, right? So not much different. And Steve sat down. He's like, wow, thanks for, taking the meeting. And I'm like, Steve, tell me, what's your idea? What's your vision? And how much money do you need? He goes, well, my vision is, I love making platform shoes and I want to be the hottest woman shoe designer, blah, 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 blah. I said, how much do you need? He goes, I need $1 million. So I said, okay, fair enough. I said, I'll tell you what, Steve, I'll give you $1 million and I want 85% of the company in return. Steve's like, really? You give me $1 million? He says, done. Thank you. And he shook my hand. I said, great, great, great. And Steve Madden sold me 85% of Steve Madden shoes, which wasn't even a company back then. We had to incorporate it, but the deal was we formed an agreement. We started Steve Madden Shoes. I invested $1 million into this company. It didn't go to Steve personally. It went into the company, right? And I was issued 85% of the stock. So Steve owned 15%. I owned 85%. The next day, I turned around and sold off 35% of my 85% for $1 million. And I ended up with 50% of Steve Madden shoes for free. Today, that's worth probably $2 billion, right? But that's not because I was a genius. That's a very common practice on Wall Street. It's called merchant banking and laying off risk using private placements and other people's money. But what allowed me to get such a rich deal was that Steve Madden walked into my office not knowing what a good deal looked like. You see, if Steve was educated in this, and I'm not saying he's not smart because Steve is brilliant, but he didn't know about corporate finance. He didn't know about investing. He didn't know about going public. So Steve's like, I want $1 million. And I said 85%. He's like, great, thank you. Guess what? If he would have said to me, no, I'm not giving you one thing more than 50, I would have said, all right, fine, let's do it. Like at 50-50, I would have given him the same $1 million. He didn't know. He didn't know what to ask for. In addition, there was other things that Steve could have done. He could have said, I'll tell you what, I'll go 50-50, but if I work my ass off here and make a go of it and really build a big company, I would like the opportunity to earn some of my company back. So if I succeed, I can get back 10 or 15%. If he would have asked me to do that, it's called an earn-out, I would have said, sure, why not? Because it's really anti-dilutive to me as the investor, because if he can build this huge company, that means I've made a lot of money on my investment. The point is, and the particulars don't matter, because I'm not trying to teach you about corporate finance in this one lesson here, but just gives you an idea of how things work. What really hurt Steve that day, and ultimately hurt me too, and I'll explain you a secondary rule here in a second. It's like kind of a byproduct of this, right? But what hurt Steve, he did not know what to ask for. He didn't know even the fact that there were things he should have done before he ever entered my office to make his company seem more valuable to me. There were steps he could have taken. He could have written a business plan. He could have done financials and projections so that when he walked in my office, the perceived value of Steve Madden shoes, albeit it was a startup, guess what? It already had traction. Meaning he'd made prototype shoes, he'd put them into stores, and sure enough, they were selling. That's a very big difference than Steve Madden walking in and saying, hey, I'd like to design a woman's shoe and sell it in stores. But I don't have a shoe yet. Give me money. So I probably wouldn't have given him money, but since he already had made the shoe, he got me that far. But I wanted the bulk of the company. He didn't make it even more real in my mind by coming up with a very carefully crafted, well-written business plan that at the end of the day showed that if Steve executed on his vision, I could make 50, 100, or even a couple of $100 million. I wouldn't have thought billions as it turned out to be. You get it? So Steve walked in to a negotiation not knowing the playing field. He didn't know what things he should have in his negotiating arsenal. He didn't know what things he should have done before to prepare himself, and he didn't know what a winning deal looked like. If he would have sat down with a mentor first and said, hey, I'm going to go meet this guy who's an investment banker. What should I, ask for? What should I not settle for less than? They would have said, don't settle for less than 50-50. He didn't do that. So what does that mean for you? What that means is whether you're going to buy a car, a piece of furniture, even stuff in the supermarket, by the way, because now you have a smartphone, but anything, even a job negotiation for a salary increase. How do you know what to ask for in a salary increase unless you do a little bit of research? What is customary? What's acceptable? What makes you not look like a greedy asshole? What are you entitled to? And of course, you want to push that envelope a little bit, always ask for a bit more. But the point is, you need to know the landscape before you enter a negotiation. I want you to make this your mantra in life. Seriously, just whether you're buying a car, looking for a home, the information that you need to figure out what a good deal looks like and what a bad deal looks like is out there. No matter what it is you're doing, you don't have to fly blind anymore. It's all on the internet, and if you can't find it quickly, ask someone who knows. Find a mentor. Find someone you trust who has experience in that field, and don't let yourself get taken advantage of. The reason this is the topic is the guests that I'm going to have on this podcast today got their clock cleaned. Now, I'll tell you who they are, and I'm going to talk a bit more. I want to give you the secondary lesson here. But the kids that are coming on are the two kids that actually wrote and produced the Jordan Belfort song. There's this song out there. Some of you might know it. Everyone who's younger knows it. The song had over 100 million streams on Spotify. It was the #1 song of the year in 2015. It made these kids famous all over the colleges. And it's a song, Jordan... Don't make me sing, all right? I'm not going to forget it. Let me just cut that for a second. But it's a really, really interesting podcast that ends with a cameo of my own son, who's an up-and-coming rapping star. So it's a really, really cool podcast. But to get back to the point, these guys had this huge hit on their hands and went out into the market to really try to capitalize that. They were making money, but they were then saying, wait a second, what's the next level? The record companies were all knocking on our door. What do we do? Should we sell? Of course we should, right? The record companies will make us rich and famous. Maybe, maybe not. We'll find out what happens after, in 5 or 10 minutes from now. But the point is that they didn't, and I'll give you a hint, protect themselves by finding out and checking what a great deal would look like. Instead, they listened to the people that they met with who talked quickly and elegantly and, painted a great picture, but they didn't read the fine print. And most importantly, they didn't know what they should ask for. Don't be that guy or these guys. You got to go out there and research and find out what a great deal looks like and what a not so great deal looks like, and then make your own decision within those parameters of what you'll settle for and what you won't settle for, bottom line. Now, one more lesson here in negotiation before we move on to our guests. This is another critical thing. Once you become a proficient negotiator, you're going to find that most people suck at negotiating and that you have an incredible edge in life, especially when you learn straight line negotiation, which is what I teach, a very organized way of getting the best deal in everything you do as you go through life, right? Separate story. But the one caution I want to give you here is that in a great negotiation, both sides have to walk away kind of winning. Just because you can out-negotiate someone and rip their eyeballs out does not mean that you should. And I'm not saying that because I'm a nice guy. So I'm not trying to paint, I'm a freaking angel. No, I'm not saying that. What I'm saying is that if you become a great negotiator and you go out there and you're ripping people's eyeballs out and cutting these amazing deals for yourself and leaving very little for the other side, guess what? All it is the basis for a lawsuit. It's not sustainable. Because one day, like Steve Madden, and he got educated down the road as he became wealthier, and he saw what happened, and what did he do? He tried to screw me because the deal was unfair to him. Was it illegal what I did? No. Was it unethical? No, it wasn't even unethical. I negotiated with him fairly and honestly, but I just ripped his eyeballs out. I did. I'll admit that. It was a mistake because I was young. And I thought that the greatest negotiations were those where you got everything you could possibly get. But if you don't leave enough for the other side so they make money too, all they're going to do is screw you. They'll figure some way to worm out of the contract, something that you did wrong. And at the end of the day, it's not sustainable. If you hire people as an entrepreneur and you use the straight line system to sell them this grand vision, but you don't compensate them fairly, don't promote them quickly enough, just negotiate them down to like almost to destitution, guess what? They will leave you. And if you're out there making people sign contracts through clever wording and clever language patterns, and then they don't get a great deal, guess what? They'll break the contract and they'll say, sue me. A contract is only there as the basis for a lawsuit. Anyone can break a contract. I'm not saying you can't take them to court because you can. But do you really want to live your life in court? If you're like me, you already hate lawyers. I hate lawyers. I literally despise lawyers so much. And some of my friends will have lawyers, right? But I hate them. They know I hate them. They're a necessary evil, okay? Because we live in a litigious society. But I try to avoid getting myself into litigation at all costs. And you guys know now I'm in litigation with the guys from Wolf of Wall Street, right? I'm suing them to get my rights back because those guys ended up being criminals. How funny coming from me, right? But I have a legal right to get my rights back now and make the TV series. So hopefully that will happen very, very soon. But the point is that you don't want to be living your life in court. And I can promise you this, if you become an expert negotiator and you are ripping people's eyeballs out because you're just a pro, they're going to resent you, they're going to talk bad about you, and ultimately they will find a way to at least try to screw you, and you will end up in court far more than you care to. So, rule number 1, know your negotiating landscape. Know what a good deal looks like, know what a bad deal looks like. Number 2, in a winning negotiation, both sides have to walk away feeling good, and that good feeling has to be sustainable, meaning they're not going to say 2 years later, oh, wait, now that I'm educated and know better, boy, did that guy screw me. I'm going to get him back somehow, because that's what's going to happen. They'll try to get you back. And last, third little bullet before we bring our guests on, I'm going to give you one more little pointer, which is important, is there's something called intangibles. One of the great tricks of closing negotiations and getting that little extra bit for yourself is knowing that there are certain intangible items, meaning they don't have an actual dollar value, but yet they're very important to the other side. You hold those things back in harness while you negotiate, and then you offer those things up at the very end to close the deal. They cost you very little, but they have a huge perceived value to the other side. So I want you to make sure before you ever enter a negotiation, always know what are those nuggets? What are those things that you can offer up to someone else that have massive value to them, but don't cost you very much? And when I say massive value to them, I mean massive perceived value. Perfect example was at Stratton back in the day. You know what the most valuable thing was? Believe it or not? How close your parking spot was to my car. As nutty as that sounds, I could offer someone, I'll tell you what, I'm going to give you a 2% raise in your commission and you can keep your parking spot, or you could park 4 cars down from me and get noise. I'll take the 4 cars. As crazy as that sounds, I'll take the 4 cars away. Perceived value, prestige. Don't forget that in every negotiation you have those intangibles. All right? And with that, let's close this out. We'll have a short break here for 1 second, and then we'll bring on our 2 guests, and you'll have a bit of a laugh.
We made like $50K in like Yeah,
little bit.
It was making
it was
making a lot of money really fast when we first dropped it. And then the CEO of TuneCore actually reached out to us and called us and said, "Guys, like this is one of the biggest songs we've ever had on TuneCore." Like,
so he was like, "Oh, like well, like we're not even a real record label. What's going on? You guys are doing numbers right now."
All right, we're back here. We got two awesome young guys here that have actually contributed to my own fame in some strange way. We got Wes Walker and Dyl Rhodes, the two co-writers and producers and I guess singers, or did you both perform?
Top to bottom,
sir.
baby, everything.
Of the Jordan Belfort song. Jordan Belfort.
I've been getting dirty money, Jordan Belfort.
So I gotta tell you,
we are so happy to be here. Thanks for having us.
I gotta tell you something. So my kids were actually in college while this whole thing was going on, and my daughter's like calls me. She was up in Muhlenberg in Pennsylvania, and she's like, "Dad, do you know there's a song about you that I just heard?"
So awesome.
And I'm like, "No." She's like, "It's actually pretty good, Dad." She's like, "Everyone is playing it." In every party I go to, and like they're like pointing at me. She was in last week. I went to. I think she was in the University of Michigan Ann Arbor football game with like 30,000 people, and they started playing the song, and everyone started like they started. It was like she was like, "Dad, what are you doing?" Right. So all right, so let's so much questions I want to ask you because here's the thing: when that song came out. People say, "Oh, are you getting paid for that? Are you going to sue those guys?" I'm like, "Fuck no."
That's what I like to hear.
First of all, I'm like, good for them.
Sir.
Why would I stop two young entrepreneurial guys? They had an idea, you executed on that. And I think what intrigued me most is that I'm sure many people had ideas like that. Maybe not that exactly, but like you guys actually went for it and did it, right?
Yeah.
So I assume that wasn't the first song you've ever created, right? You probably were rapping before that?
Yeah, no, for sure. I was like, had been a DJ since like middle school. I used to do bar mitzvahs. You know what I mean? I was getting paid like $1,000.
We used to do them together.
We made a whole entertainment.
Right, so
like,
Wes,
company.
you've always been a DJ.
So that was where I started, but like producer is my main bread and butter. Yeah. I'm
Dyl,
always, like,
and you?
instrumentals.
Yeah, I mean, so I've always been interested in music, and Wes was one of my best friends since middle school. So like he said, we used to do an entertainment company, like events together in high school. And so we would always like hang out, freestyle, like make raps. He was more of the producer. He had the SoundCloud page. Like for me, it was something that like, I liked rap and I liked freestyling, and that's how it came together, like really.
And were you making any money on this at first or no, just having fun?
So
No way.
we were making money from like doing music stuff, but no songs were out that were popular that we were getting money from. We weren't really doing any type of shows.
Okay. And
It was really a lot of just like fun. We were just having fun with it.
Yeah, like basically when we dropped the song, it was like we had a few songs out on SoundCloud, but certainly nothing making money and certainly nothing distributed to Spotify or Apple Music. So we just dropped it on SoundCloud and like nothing happened. Like it was out on SoundCloud
the
for
Jordan
over
Belfort
a year.
song. When did it first come out? What year?
2014.
And how old were you guys?
We were 18, 19, right?
Yeah,
So
yeah.
you were
18.
freshmen or
Freshman in college.
It came out right around my birthday, so that would be January 5th, 2014. So I had probably just turned 19 right around when it came out.
All right, so what we're going to do, let's just stop for 1 second. We're going to play, let's give this like about a 30-second clip here of the song here. And it's kind of catchy, kind of like when I hear it, I'm like, oh my God, I can't believe it. But let's give it 30 seconds here. All right, so Jordan.
Bird, Burberry shirt. Had to do it.
Sometimes when I want to just drive my kids crazy, like if I rap to that song like that, just stop. They're like, you don't know how to rap. You don't move like a rapper. I'll torture them like on purpose. You know what I'm saying? But anyways, all right, let's start at the beginning here. So you release the song, right? And nothing really happens, which is kind of common, I think, for a lot of artists in the beginning. You put stuff out there and no one really hears it. I mean, you get a couple of things, oh, it was good, but nothing happens, right?
Right. I think that is one of the most common things that a lot of artists and entrepreneurs, just any type of business, overlook. Like, stuff takes a long time to like circulate. So we dropped the song, and it was over a year before it even looked promising.
So how it was when you say it looked promising, was define. Looked promising. What does that mean?
Yeah.
So it was interesting. It was definitely a slow build, but the first time it really had like its foot was in Penn State, and so we knew like a couple like DJs and stuff that would DJ around frats in Penn State, and then that kind of garnered it into like the Penn State anthem. So then you'd see all the comments being like Penn State anthem 2015, Jordan Belfort all day, blah blah blah. And then so that's where it really grew. And then like
So in the same way that
2 months
Facebook
later,
started at Harvard,
Yeah.
Yeah, no, really.
Jordan
though.
Belfort song started at Penn State.
Yeah,
I
shout
think-
out PSU. You did it.
Yeah,
boy.
right. Shout out Penn State. I think it's interesting that you said your daughter was at Muhlenberg in PA because it definitely spread around in PA. And I don't know if that is like a little bit coincidental or it's because we're from Philly.
Right.
But I think it's kind of like a mixture of the two. Like I think it did just happen to catch on at Penn State. It was the right place, right time, right subject.
So how many? So okay. So when you say it started catching on, you started noticing the downloads, the streams building, basically.
And one of the big like factors that I saw, you'd see like the Penn State anthem, and then 2 months later it was like Texas Tech, shout
Yeah,
out, and then
right.
you'd see like LSU, you know, all the different kind, and then you'd see the other schools kind of grabbing on as like the
So,
underground college
interesting.
anthem, which was cool.
So you weren't actively trying to push this to university; it was happening on its own, basically.
Well,
which is cool for
Yeah,
sure. It
definitely.
was very organic.
I would say what happened, like, so let's say a year later, the song comes out, winter 2014. A year later, winter 2015. We're still like maybe at the most a couple 100,000 plays. So like we're getting like excited. We're like, okay, this song is promising. It's the best one we've made. But
And we've never had 100,000 plays.
Right,
before
right.
Either. Like, we were like,
we were like,
we're
yes,
throwing
this
a
is
release
exciting.
party.
But like we also didn't know how to judge like what it meant. Like I remember just
Yeah.
being like, this is awesome, but like what does it mean and what's next? So then it was about a year and a half after, it was summer 2015, that the song hit 1 million on SoundCloud. So like just to put it in perspective, it took a year and a half before we even got to 1 million. And even when you get to 1 million, you're still like is this it? Is it going to go to 10 million or is it going to stop at 1 million? So
how
you
many
don't know.
songs get to 1 million? Do a lot of songs get to
Like,
1 million?
To 1 million nowadays, yes. But like from where we are now, like we have 35 million on YouTube and like 100 million on Spotify. That is like kind of unheard of. Like there's a ton of artists that are like, you know, really
shocking.
famous artists that
Don't
we
have
that
that.
yeah don't have nearly that.
So when did you guys decide to shoot the video?
So yeah, we have we would love to talk about the video because
Let's talk
it's
about
such
it.
a great story behind it. Like what a lot of people don't know is that we were not working with any major label. We were 100% independent when we went to shoot that video in Miami. And we like had no support. It was literally me, Wes, and our friend Yofre from College Weekly. And so he was like the director behind the video. And
we
we
had
actually,
like a lot of like fraternity and sorority connections nationwide,
In Miami.
but also in Miami to like help out with the stuff. But that was like a main thing where like all his college dealings went like perfectly in line with what we were doing. So
have you ever seen the music video Save That Money by Lil Dicky?
No.
So in the music video, Save That Money by Lil Dicky, right? He goes around to like mansions. I think it's in LA or something. He goes around and he like knocks on the door. He's like, hey, I'm Lil Dicky. I'm a rapper. Can we make a music video here? We just want to use your giant mansion for a few minutes and we'll be gone.
like
so he
for
made
free.
this
The whole thing
like
is
for
like
free.
trying
yeah.
to do
The song's-
saving the most money, but making it look the best.
Like it's called Save That Money. So in many ways, we were like the OGs of that because we went down to Miami, no money, like no money at all. Like I had to sell stuff to get my flight ticket, and like my parents they weren't not helping me at this time for other reasons. So I had to sell stuff to get my flight ticket, and we sent it down to Miami with like very little plan. We ended up networking with some kids that Yofre knew from UF, got a giant mansion right on the beach to shoot the whole first scene that you see with Wes. Then we literally, let's see, what are
There was
the
another
yacht.
girl who got this
The
yacht.
yacht.
And also, it was a very magical day because we ended up being like the only yacht in the Miami Bay, and so we were getting the crazy drone shots, and it just looks like so. It's just the one boat, and then it slowly zooms in, and it's just
Yeah.
like us. You know what I mean, it's like how do we get that one time where there's no other boats?
And it's like the crazy part is how did we get that yacht? Like so basically Yofre knew this girl. And have you ever seen those sorority videos where it's like a recruitment video? They kind of like throw glitter and the girls are dancing and looking pretty. Well, he's done a video like that on this yacht before. So that girl whose father owned the yacht,
Right.
loved Jordan Belfort. Loved the song. This was
He was like,
20
I'll
yeah.
drive you around all day. We'll
So he
get
loved
some
it
drinks
too.
out, some champagne glasses.
Yeah. So that's why we essentially get this huge yacht, like a ton of girls on the boat. We're allowed to spray champagne
And
on
where'd
the
the girls?
decks.
Where'd the
I
girls
mean,
come from? Just
we got like 2 sororities, so we knew a couple of them already, but most of them they were just like bring the friends. You know what I mean? We're just gonna make it look crazy.
Yeah, like we literally just kind of used social media. Like we had a really unique situation because the song was already pretty popular. Like
Right,
people
right,
knew it. College students knew it. Anyone outside of college
didn't know
scene
it, yeah.
no idea. But college
Everyone there
students
was
knew
like
it.
excited to be a part of it too. They were
Right.
like, "Oh my God, you guys are doing the Jordan Belfort music video?
Right.
I'm there."
Exactly. So it was like easy to bring people out. We got so much support from all the people in Miami who I don't know any of them. I haven't even talked to them again, but they were just so supportive and they loved the song and it was so like grassroots and organic.
Right.
And like the whole video, we spent $1 to $2K on it. And that's like including our flight tickets, which is the most expensive part. So
The most expensive thing was
Yeah.
probably like the Lambo, which we got. It was
Lambo.
$400 originally for the day, and then he like screwed us. Where like 8 people showed up to shoot, and he just didn't show up.
show
And we were
up.
like, "Yo, like we're paying for like a production
Yeah.
right now. We got to like get this together." And then so we got it for $200.
the next day, like
And
all
then
day.
and then it was like we got like a breakaway glass bottle, and that was like the second most expensive thing.
Yeah.
Like we really did it.
Seriously, I mean, we just had like a really great crew, a really great team, as well as like that organic support.
Yeah,
and so
College Weekly definitely helped us out a lot. Just Yo,
Yeah.
like did a lot of like the production. So he got like the drone people to come through for free and
yeah.
blah blah blah.
God.
It's got to be a bit of a dream fulfillment for two young guys, right?
It
Where
was.
like you go from obscurity because you guys no one knew who you were to
100%.
guys were
My-
superstars.
my-
I mean,
my-
everyone was listening to the song.
My
Yeah.
favorite stuff was like when we go to like smaller towns. Like if you're in New York or in LA, we were still big stuff, but we weren't like
Right, there's a
you know,
lot of
it's-
stars
Yeah,
there.
it's huge. It's a huge spot. When we go to some place like Troy, Alabama, or Lubbock, Texas, we are. Right, you know what I mean? Like people are like, "Oh my God, they're in." You know what I mean?
Yeah.
We'll get like 2,000-3,000 people to show out on like a pop-up show. You know what I
that-
mean? Like people just be like, "Oh my God, they're here, they're here." It's like,
Yeah, right.
The small towns because stuff just goes around so fast. We'll be at like the local Denny's and someone would be like,
Yeah, I think that what was also really unique about Jordan Belfort is it touched a lot of people around the country. Like it was popular in, you know, some small town in Louisiana,
Sure.
but it also had this like cult following in a big city like New York with like the college students or whatever. But
So tell me now. Let's talk. Let's go back. I want to focus on a different thing. Tell me what what was it about the movie? Now let's talk about what made you make this song. Obviously, you guys love the movie. What was it about the movie that you think makes it such a connection to people of all ages? But let's talk about young people right now. What is it about? Is it the beautiful girls, the Margot Robbie? Is it the insane drug use? Is it the entrepreneurial aspect? Is it getting to live vicariously? What is it?
I think in a lot of ways the movie was so influential because it just shows like a lifestyle that most people aspire to. But I think the kind of like risky side of it, like all the drugs and the craziness, just adds this kind of like fantasy appearance to the whole movie. And like in many ways, like when writing the song, I was kind of thinking of like, for example, there's this Rick Ross song. It's like, think I'm Big Meech, Larry Hoover. Like, I was just thinking of like these songs where they're like calling out like successful, like kind of rich people. And so like, I think that's where it came from. It was just like, oh, this is the new guy. Like, this is the new guy. Like, I saw that movie and I was hooked. I mean, I was like, this movie was amazing. It touches on that partying. Like, I was young. I'm like 18, 19.
That whole year when it came out, everybody wanted to be Jordan Belfort.
Everyone.
You know what I mean? Everyone was just like, "Yo, I just made $10 at the casino. I'm fucking Jordan Belfort, baby!" Like,
How much of it, though, do you think how many people do you think watch it and walk away with the right message, though? Saying like that, okay, I love everything. I don't want to get in trouble and go to jail, though, right? Do you think most people, or you think people say, I don't give a fuck. I just want to get rich. I want to, in other words, what message really do young people get from this?
I think that's a really great question because I see people online all the time and they'll be like, all these kids who like the Jordan Belfort Wolf of Wall Street movie, they're not getting the real message. You know, this is a message about, some guy who did something wrong. And like, I hear that side of it, but I think those people might be like overthinking it. Like, I personally like see the negative side of it where it's like, stuff went wrong and this is kind of what can happen. There's that side of it, but it's all about fun for me and for I think a lot of other viewers. Like it's
In
fun.
other words, I think what you're saying is,
Yeah.
and you can talk in a second. I want to get your opinion too. Is that like I assume people are smart enough and they've been raised well enough to know that okay, yeah, I love the whole thing. I don't want to break the law and go to jail or anything,
Right.
but I love like you could actually look at something and say I'd like 98% of that life and take away the part that was caused them to go to jail, right? I think people are smart enough to know that. Wes, what do you think?
yeah, no, I think that's definitely I like the for the most average person, like they know what to take away from that. However, I've seen the situations where people take it all the way the wrong way, even
Right.
from just the song. And I'm sure it goes both ways
Right.
with the movie sometimes too. But there was like one time we were doing this frat event, and this guy came up to me. He was like, "Yo, I just brought like an ounce of Molly. We're getting so fucked up tonight." And I was like, just because I said that in the song, like, doesn't mean that I'm about to. That's like really what I'm all about. You know what I mean? Like, and if they really knew, they would know we were just having fun. We want that feeling of everything. Yeah. But like, you don't actually really have to.
Yeah.
to do
Now,
it.
the question is though, would that person have done that anyway? In other words, that's like,
Yeah, no,
like,
he was already
people like
yeah,
that. I think
yeah.
so. Unless someone's gonna, my opinion is, and listen, maybe I'm not right, but I think I am, is that people who are gonna be breaking the law are predisposed to certain behaviors. It's not like I saw the movie or I heard your song,
and now
I'm gonna.
I'm
That's
a
it. Now I
changed
want to go
person,
out
yeah.
and change him. It's almost just basically not even a trigger, by the way. It's just something they can refer to. It's like after the fact, and I think
Yeah.
people are smart enough. Now I know, for instance, you had some challenges because you wrote me a letter, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
And you said you went a bit fucking hog wild, right? Was it drugs or something?
So I had an issue. Like this was kind of my senior year at Tulane University, where
It's hard to be normal in New
Yeah,
Orleans.
New Orleans.
And I've
So-
been there. It's just true, right?
Little
That's
bit
a
of
crazy
Mardi
spot.
Gras, little
Yeah,
bit of
sure.
Mardi Gras taken too far. Drugs involved for sure. I was in a tough place. Like I got in this place and it was definitely fueled by drugs where like I just needed to take a step back and like take care of myself. And so I sent, Jordan a letter and just cause like you've always been kind of a role model. And I think there's always been like, look, we've never even met before.
I responded to you, though.
But yeah. So you hit me back and by the time you hit me back, I was already kind of like, I took some time off from school to like deal with it. I got my shit back together and ended up graduating that same semester. But yeah, I mean, like I just reached out to you because I thought maybe you'd be someone to talk to. Like I know how you've gotten over those similar kind of issues, but like, yeah, I mean, I think we all have problems. Like I've had my own experiences with drugs, and it's like made me into who I am today. Like I'm a lot more. I mean, even with this whole experience, right? We were 18, 19, thrown into this situation where we're like partying every single weekend, drinking every single weekend, and so that takes a little bit of a toll on you. And I think now here I am, 25, like six years later, and I'm definitely like in a little bit more control and stuff. And so yeah, it's been a learning experience.
Let's talk about the financial side. So how did it work financially for you guys with this song?
So right off the rip, when we were making it, we didn't really think it was going to be big.
Yeah,
So we were just like, we're not even going to think about it, but like 50-50, whatever. And so that's kind of just where we went with that. And then we first put it on TuneCore, which is like an independent. You pay $10 to get your song on Apple Music and Spotify and whatnot.
Sure.
So, but the cool thing about TuneCore is that you get 100% of what you get. They're not taking anything. Where normally if you go through like a record label, they're taking some large percentage. If you're going through another one of those independent services, they at least take like 10%.
So you
or
charge for
something like that.
downloads that on TuneCore? Is that how you get money or no? How do you?
Well, no, they make the $10.
Yeah, and then how do you make your money once it's on TuneCore?
So through iTunes purchases,
Purchase.
streams, Spotify streams. It's also
Yeah.
cool because we went through a very evolutionary right when
As
this
the
first
music industry
started.
was changing.
Yeah,
too.
exactly. Like it was more
yeah.
like the 99-cent purchases on iTunes, and now it's almost 100% streaming. Yeah,
Yeah.
Spotify. So now it's always this weird algorithm of like 0.006 to 0.008 cents per stream, depending on the month, and like it's a very we've got a good feel for it now, but it changes all the
we
time.
released the song like 100% independently on TuneCore, and like I said, it took
we
was
made like
it took
50K in like a little bit.
It was making
It was
it was
crazy.
making a lot of money really fast when we first dropped it. And then the CEO of TuneCore actually reached out to us and
That was, like,
called
awesome.
us and said,
He was like, "Hey, have you guys even logged
have
in?
you guys
Like-
logged?" Like, first of all, we were on it every day. We knew exactly what was happening. But he called us and was like, "Guys, like this is one of the biggest songs we've ever had on TuneCore. Like, do you guys know that you're selling like thousands
And like they
of
make
songs
their
per
money
day?"
by basically the $10 song that they put on, and that person, most of the songs they get, like they don't make any money. You know what I mean? So they're just getting all these weird little independent artists that don't really make that much money
Right.
to get them $10. So he was like, "Oh, like well, like we're not
Yeah.
even a real record label. What's going on? You guys are doing numbers right now."
The game has totally changed now, though. Like TuneCore is now distributes a ton of music. I'm sure they've had bigger hits than Jordan Belfort, but back then it was
Maybe,
really,
maybe not.
It was really unique. But and like we were making a lot of money. Off
find
the
a lot of
sales.
money.
Like thousands of dollars per day. Like, and that was a lot at the time. Like, and this was before the song really got as big as it eventually did. But we
so
didn't.
that was your first bite at the apple, right? Was that
Right.
money
Yeah.
at Too Cool? What happened next?
And so we, honestly, in my opinion, like, we didn't know how to judge this amount of income. Like, we didn't know, like, okay, could it stop tomorrow? Like, could it stop tomorrow? So
right
like,
off rip, we should have left it on TuneCore.
we should have just left it.
We should have left it on TuneCore.
No, you know, we're
But
18, 19. We don't know everything about, like, this industry. We're still learning.
I say that, but I immediately was like, well, we had to go through the whole process of everything to learn everything that we do now. And we did. So basically, we signed it with Atlantic Records. A ton of people reached out to us. Sony, Epic Records, like every record label pretty much ever was reaching out to us. But because we were kind of like first-time artists, we had our lawyer look over everything, and they were like, they're kind of screwing you over. So the first time we got with Atlantic, this was the first time we got like an okay deal that was like, just because like we weren't established artists, like, and they didn't.
What was the deal?
They didn't understand the absolute.
What was
growth.
the deal?
So it was
$50,000 advance plus 18% royalties on the song. So they purchased the entire song outright from us, basically, and there was like an agreement for one follow-up song in it. So we essentially gave up like 82% of the royalties of the song for the advance. And so
at the time
you guys are making thousands a day. Why would you do 50 grand?
So like really at the time,
well,
like,
we thought
know.
being with Atlantic Records was going to be a little bit more valuable than it was. You know what I mean? We thought getting into a true record label. Now we're like, fuck record labels. They don't do anything but like you can do everything independent.
Right.
Way much better. You know what I mean? Just with a small team or just with yourself than a record label will do. Just because they're not giving you the extra.
So they gave 50 grand, and what did you think was going to happen?
And this was also in the beginning. So like with the money, like we were making a ton of money, but we thought that like we didn't think it was going to get that much bigger.
Was
basically.
this before the video?
We were almost
Here's the thing. It was
around the
after
same
the video.
time.
It was after the video. We sold them the video too. We made the video 100% independently. We sold it to them. They wanted to buy it because of the video. That was a huge factor in it. But yeah, like we basically just didn't know what to expect from the song. And the other thing is we had people from the record label and everyone in the industry, right, is telling us like, oh, you better take this deal. Like there's a chance to work with Atlantic Records. Like,
it's like you don't know what's gonna happen tomorrow. This is like set in stone. Like get the advance, and you know if shit goes wrong, take the money and run. It's in advance. Blah blah blah.
There was this element of genuine confusion in the industry about SoundCloud and internet songs. So like this was at a time when there was still some level of like, we don't know how this stuff works yet. So, right. So like in talking to people in the industry, like at this time, no one could say like, if you get 1 million views on SoundCloud, is it going to keep going or could it stop getting views tomorrow?
Sure.
And it was just like a time where like we didn't know. We had people trying to convince us to take the deal.
It's
so
being
we took it.
smashed into the industry like that.
How much did you
weird.
make after you sold it to Atlantic Records?
So like I would say we made like 6 figures, very, very low though. Like, you know, just barely 6 figures. And
no, I would say closer to like 4 or 5K, 4 or 500.
Well,
including some random
together. I mean, it maybe. Well, if you include like our tour and everything, but let's just talk about from Atlantic. I think it was like low 6 figures. And the truth is, like, if we would have remained independent, that song should have made us millionaires. Like that song should have made us millionaires straight up. And we took a deal that was like first deal, foot in the door, but it was not the best deal for us. Like it was, you know, and that's a learning experience. I think that's part of entrepreneurship. I think that whether you're in music industry or whether you're in a different line of business, like your first deal is always going to be one that you're going to look back on and say, there's some things I could have done better.
Yeah, I mean, that's true. And also it shows you the importance of having a mentor. Now, what you guys really needed was a mentor.
Absolutely.
Like my friend Larry Rudolph, who manages Aerosmith and Britney Spears you know, and others. Like he would have said to you, don't freaking sell that. You know?
Yeah, no, we need someone that had like
but
crazy
listen, you learned.
faith in us.
So okay, so if you would have kept it the way it was
It
TuneCore?
was distributed, TuneCore.
What do you think you would have made just if you had kept the whole thing yourself?
I think we would have both been millionaires. I mean,
let's do a simple number.
Yeah, Spotify streams. Those Spotify streams we have are worth like $500,000.
0.008 is the general thing for a Spotify stream.
That's kind of high, but they're worth
0.07.
Yeah, they're worth between like the Spotify alone worth between like $500,000 and $1 million.
Worth meaning in one shot, or
the streams payout. So 100 million streams is going to pay out something like It's a wide range, but it's like
Got it.
300K up to like 800K, depending on the countries they're streaming it in and stuff like that.
And that's Spotify.
That's
And then,
only
yeah,
Spotify.
Just Spotify streams is getting us 980.
Yeah.
And how about iTunes? And,
Yeah, I mean, the other thing is like we didn't even talk about this yet. When you were talking about the girls, I wanted to bring it up. But like we did a tour, like we did 40 to 50 independent shows all over the US. I've been to like every big party school. We've been there.
Pretty much every
like,
state college, even smaller places.
Like,
we went to Barcelona.
So many.
Like,
yeah, we made
a couple
it to Europe.
overseas things.
And what was your biggest audience you had?
It was
15,000.
at Numbers Fest in Ohio. We opened for
No.
Fetty Wap and the Chainsmokers.
The Ray Shrimmer show was even bigger.
That one was at Duke. Yeah, Ray Shrimmer. We opened for Ray
shit.
Shrimmer at Duke. That was really cool. But yeah, no, we did some really awesome shows, and that made us some money as well. And those people, the people that booked our shows, like they did us well. Like they worked pretty hard for us. We did a lot of shows in a year.
Right.
But like I honestly think the record label really did not look out for us. Like they could have done so much more. I mean, listen to this.
It was just
The
kind of
song-
disorganized.
the song
like if
went
we had
platinum.
like any sort of team.
When the
go on,
song
sorry.
went platinum, I got a platinum record. Like I posted about it. They didn't even do like a press release or like any kind of like blogs or articles about our song going platinum. Like song hits 100 million streams. Nobody even said anything. Listen to this. You know, like on Instagram Music, they don't even have Jordan Belfort on Instagram Music because someone at Atlantic Records hasn't pressed the button yet. And it's ridiculous. Like you can't even look up Jordan Belfort to put it on your Instagram story because nobody cares. Like, which is disappointing because, you know, when we sold that song, we were thinking
like,
that we were going to
you guys are about to have our backs. There's going to be.
We're going to have our backs.
Have
We're
you
gonna
called
get
them?
proper
Have you guys
resource.
called them and complained and
that's a good question.
Like yes,
Not
a little bit, but like the team is we like you know what I mean. We lost our point of contact like a while back, and so now like we don't even like we've reached out once before, but then the one person was like, "Oh, you got to like talk to your A&R. We don't have
right?
an A&R anymore."
Well,
like
they probably- they
who's this-
provide
who's
you. I think the issue really is like in any industry, and you guys are going to find this as you get more into the business world. Is like, what have you done for me lately? And there would probably be a lot of interest in that song if you came out with another song that made it more timely. As great as the song might have been, okay, at the time, they look at it like, what's next? What's new? What's next?
Yeah,
What's
yeah.
new? So it's like, I for example, I was in the music industry, and I signed Hootie and the Blowfish.
Oh, no way.
Yeah.
I didn't know that. That's
I
awesome.
did, yeah. I had a company. I was partners with a guy named Steven Swid and Charlie. What's his name? Marty. No, Steven Swid and he was crazy. This guy. Anyway, this was a wild guy. Okay, Artie Mogul. Great name, Artie Mogul's
Yeah,
a
right.
wild man. Artie Mogul's dead now, passed away. But Artie's like, because my wife and I, we don't really, have that much in common. Her idea of a great, weekend is to, go off in our camper into the desert, the high desert, and, go out with our two dogs and commune with nature. He goes, my idea of a great weekend is to be in Sunset Strip with a bag of coke and a bag of heroin and two black hookers. Like that was like, and he was like 78 when he said that.
Jeez.
He was a wild man.
Sheesh.
For sure.
Completely wild,
Sheesh.
right? So we had formed this record label, and we signed a few people, and the fourth act we signed was Hootie and the Blowfish, right? And
Were they known at all before that, or was that
no,
kind
it
of?
was in a bit out of
Yeah.
Atlanta, and someone found them. It was actually this guy named Stanley Schuster who worked for our company had signed them, and they went and cut this album that became incredibly popular with "Hold Your Hand," right? And now what happened was I was in a bazillion different businesses at this point. Eventually, I just kind of it wasn't making money, and we just kind of I had no idea this was even going on, right?
Right.
And then I was on my yacht in Cold Spring Harbor, Long Island. And Stanley Schuster's father, whose name is Harry Schuster, I think he's also passed away by now, South African guy, okay? Him and I did a lot of business together. So Harry's on my yacht, and we're talking about something else, and the song comes on the radio, Hold Your Hand, by Hootie and the Blowfish. And it's playing, and I'm like, I'm humming to the song. And he goes, doesn't that just burn you up? I'm like,
And you're like,
what do you mean? I'm like, he goes, well,
that's your act.
I mean, it's like, it costs you like $100 million. I'm like, what are you talking about?
Wow.
He goes, you don't know that you signed Hootie and the Blowfish at it was called JRS Records. I'm like, what? And he tells me the story. So here's what happened. So Stanley Schuster, his son, was in Atlanta at some college bar, and he hears this band playing, and he loves them. He gets him to sign on the spot, puts him into like some room, and they cut this album, like, you know, in some like small, tiny studio.
Yeah.
I forgot what it was called, the first album, right? And the key song was Hold Your Hand, right? And it gets released and goes absolutely bonkers, okay? But before it's released, right before it's released, they owed Hootie and the Blowfish like $50,000 to like on the option to complete the contract.
Yeah.
And Steven Swid, I think he's still alive, his girlfriend hears, or his mistress at the time, hears the song. She goes, it sucks. No one will ever listen to it. And he listens to her, and he doesn't write the check for $50,000 and lets the song go. And they got picked up by, I think, Atlantic Records.
Yo.
Picked it up, and Atlantic Records made all the freaking money.
Fucking Atlantic, man.
Sounds like a
Atlantic
familiar
again. I want those
story, man.
motherfuckers. I want them
Familiar
dead. I want the
story.
family dead. I want the house burned.
Get him,
Right?
man.
Anyway, the point is, so we were this,
Yeah,
so we had,
yeah.
thankfully, and I feel bad for Hootie and crew, but thankfully their second album sucked moose cock, okay? Because if the second, it was the second album that would have made it like $1 billion loss. You get it?
right.
So thank God, because I would never forget. I'd be out there like in camouflage and fucking paint, and it's the girlfriend, you know, the bow and arrow. You know what I'm saying?
Ooh.
I mean, I can't present, you know, a convicted felon. I can't have a gun. I have to use a bow and arrow. You know? I got one of those crossbows with a fucking sight, a laser sight across the building.
Robin Hood right
I'm tired
here.
of fucking
Robin
Robin Hood
Hood.
ass, right? So, so it was incredible. So that was my experience in the music industry, and it's really sad. But it sounds like you guys still, in spite of this, right? You learned a lot, right?
Yeah, no, for sure.
So the question is, what's next now? You're out there now. Sounds like you're more into behind the scenes producing music, and is that what you're doing?
Yeah. I've been doing a lot of creation stuff. We're still putting stuff out. He has a video that's just coming out. I have another video coming out in a little bit, but we're just like putting stuff out.
Yeah, I mean, so we have our follow-up song with Atlantic Records called Haters, which is like kind of a cool song. Like, I don't know if it's like either one of our like real like styles, but like it's what came together with Atlantic, and that song just hit 1 million on Spotify, which is like a big deal. Like I said, like when Jordan Belfort first hit 1 million, that was the beginning of everything.
Sure.
So this song Haters could still go bonkers from
There you
here,
go.
even though it's a couple years old. But yeah, I just released my new album Crypto Rich, which I'm really excited about, and I have a couple other independent singles that are starting to pop
Well,
off.
I'll give you guys some good news. We're making The Wolf of Wall Street into a TV series now.
Okay.
It'll
So
be-
you gotta,
us.
It's
you
going to
gotta
be
let us know.
so it's going to be either on, you know, I want to say one of the major either streaming networks or one of the big, you know, cable channels.
Gotta
like
get that
HBO or
sync
something.
licensing going
right?
down.
And who knows? Maybe there'll be a chance for you guys to do something with that. I can't, I can't promise it, but we'll see.
That'd be really cool.
All right, so you guys now have a situation here with Phil Collins, right? What's going on?
So there's a little thing just happened, and when I first produced this beat, I didn't really think about sampling or anything like that. I just was making music, anything that I had, and so I sampled like the first 1 second of this Genesis song, and that's
Bum, bum, bum.
Phil Collins, Michael Rutherford, and and
Which
who's the other
song?
person?
I
Anthony
love
Stone.
Genesis.
Yeah, that's all.
all. Only the first
That's it.
notes.
So, but really, all I did was, I didn't even do the beat is.
And they're suing you?
So here's the thing, it was fine for a while. It was such a deep sample that it was like 99% of people don't notice. However, one of my lawyer friends, who is like this older dude, Andy Hurwitz, he was like, "Oh, isn't that Genesis song?" And I was like, "Oh shit, is it like obvious or something like that?" But basically, when we were making our deal with Atlantic Records, it came to a time where the lawyer was like, "Did you sample anything?"
What song is this?
That's all.
Which song?
That's all about
No,
Genesis.
no.
Oh,
but
Jordan
what-
Belfort.
It's in there?
Yeah, it is.
That's the beat.
The
That's-
main
that's-
piano riff, it goes like dun dun
So
dun
I-
dun dun dun. So that's a
But
Genesis.
basically-
I didn't notice it. And I love Genesis.
Yeah, no, it's so like
cool.
it's not a real sample. Like the Juice WRLD just got in trouble with Sting because he basically cut the entire Sting song and just put rap drums under it. I took like just a 2-3 piano notes.
Hold on, let's hear
blah,
this.
blah, blah.
Show me what it is. Show me this song. Let's get this. And see if it
That's
really-
all?
Yeah. Well, I want to see if I can hear the.
Yeah, no, I'll bring it up right
the
now.
thing also is like
Do-do-do,
we've talked
do-do-do,
to so many people about this, and most people, like 99% or more, have never hear it. But there has been like 3 or 4 people who just like know exactly what it is.
It's one of those things
questions.
like when you have your favorite song, you just know when it's coming on.
So let's see.
Right when it plays.
So what does he want? He wants money?
Well, okay, so it's already over. However, fuck you, Phil Collins. Where's my proper camera?
Shots fired.
I'm calling you out right now. Boxing match 1v1. Winner takes all the royalties.
Whoa.
So
call the UFC. Dana White.
Already, that's like it was just the.
There you go. Play it.
Not even the.
Dun, dun, dun.
Okay, then where's Jordan Belfort? Show me Jordan Belfort.
I wish I had my laptop and then I could just go because I have like 80 iterations of the instrumental. Because also to try and
we have
I'm in Amsterdam, which is
like during the battle, we could save money by.
Dun, dun, dun.
Oh, stop it.
Yeah, really, that's it. Some people really recognize it. Some people,
But like, it's not even.
How can you
It's
say 3 beats make a song? Three notes together is all.
no. I was so annoyed because it was like a songwriting thing, and I was like, it's just 3 notes. Anybody can use 3 piano
And there's 3
notes.
notes.
And so basically we went through like this whole thing of now we had to like figure out what organ Genesis used in the 70s so we could try and recreate it ourselves because we also had to pay them mechanical royalties. This is the big thing where I learned so much about the industry where I'm like, I'm never sampling anything.
Mechanical royalties?
Yeah, no, there's songwriting royalties, mechanical royalties, and songwriting is more like the notes and the lyrics and the actual sheet music, what it would be. Mechanical is because I used the studio recording of whoever was playing the piano, him playing the piano. So we were,
Oh, did you actually use it though?
yes, 100%. But like, it's just, I used it almost just as like a one single piano note.
Why don't you
In
do
the
it yourself,
original.
though?
The original.
We did. So
Yeah.
we saved money by recreating. We figured out what organ they used, and then we recreated it, and then we were able to save 25% of our royalties. So now we only owed the songwriting. But still, it was such a vague sample.
You still had to give them
fact that
money?
We had to give them 25% of songwriting and like $5,000 up front. Just
For
to,
what?
like, use it. Yeah, right? Yeah, for
Right.
what? No, that's why Phil Collins, baby. I've been training. I've been training.
Come on,
guy's
that's
ripped.
fucked up.
Yeah.
And it was like, and we're like also at the time, like we were like young guys, like just let us keep the fucking extra 25%. You know what I mean? Like you have enough money, Phil
I have
Collins.
my name
like,
trademarked, and I didn't come after you guys.
Right?
Yeah,
right.
I mean, literally.
Thank you for you, but like fuck.
Yeah. And that's the thing, like, when you're starting out in the music industry, like, you gotta look out for yourself, because the labels, like, to them, it's like, okay, this is going to us, too, because we own Phil Collins, so we don't care what those guys are getting.
Crazy.
So, yeah.
However,
Alright.
a little bit funny. It's
Wow.
his name is on the
Writing.
copyright. Like he is a co-writer. Phil Collins is a co-writer on Jordan Belfort, which is
Wes
just kind of
Walker
funny.
Dyl,
like
Phil
it's
Collins.
like he just like barely just kind of like on there just because we had to pay him.
So podcasting. What do you guys think about podcasting? Do you know anything about it? Do you listen to podcasts?
Yeah. It's funny because in like high school we had like some tech classes that were like teach you how to do a podcast, and we'd be on like MacBooks doing podcasts, and I was like, when are we ever gonna fucking use this? What type of old school ass shit is this? And then here we are in a time where podcasts are like crazy huge, and like everyone is on commutes listening to like
So tell
hour-long
me,
podcasts.
what do you think? So, okay, so you guys, I want you guys, let's see if we can do a little collaboration here. So, how do you think that you guys can make this particular episode go viral? What would you do to your, let's hear it.
We got one thing. We just got to freestyle. We got to get.
Come on, Jordan, we need you on a
We
beat,
gotta-
man.
we
We
gotta
need
do
a
beat.
freestyle.
Freestyle.
Yeah, we got to get a little Belfort action on the beat. So.
Wolf
Guys,
of
let
Wall
me,
Street.
let me tell you something. You don't want to have me freestyle. My family makes fun of me when I try to do that stuff. But I have a solution. I'm going to call the expert in the family, and my son's actually an incredibly gifted rapper.
yes,
Let's
yes.
get him in there. Come on,
Oh,
Carter
let's get
James.
him
Let's
in
go.
there. Yeah,
All right,
let's
let's
clap
go.
it up, baby. Carter.
Get Carter.
Carter, no Lil
right.
Wayne, baby.
I'll chime in every once in a while with a yeah.
Oh, yeah. Oh,
Hey.
we in here.
Yeah.
Okay.
What now?
Yeah. One more time.
What?
Time.
Not one time.
Time.
Not one time.
Time.
Not one time.
Time.
Not one time.
One
Hey,
time.
y'all, it's the Drunken Poet Carter James. One time,
Whoa.
all right?
One
Yeah.
time.
This medicine I discuss can mend Achilles' heel. Bend space and time, then reinvent the wheel. Appear to cold trolls with a keyboard to wield as venom. Steals his soul, this flow is my shield.
Okay.
Night shine my armor, my honor's revealed. Sealed
Yeah.
inside my karma is a license to feel. I hope to heal crisis, my advice is be real. Though
Yeah.
Midas, I'm touched by the curse of a deal. Puff trust with my team as I breathe in skill. Some cups filled with dreams we toast to never spill. And pips when I spit, my lips sign the bill. I will pens to send vibes, supply to give chills. Most nights my own pride makes time stand still. Hit the mic stands alive, just waiting to get killed. See, I ate a black mamba at the age of 24. Now I'm clutch with lungs, fade away on scores. Been major, how my vocals modded in chord. And this triad serve, whether it's a chorus or chord, better be the force restored. A destiny's reward, I flow ecstasy. The songs of Moonrock and Bob Form. Assume God dropped in the booth to see me perform. I moonwalk, talk grooves, the Milky Way is my floor. See, I gift light with windpipes and rich life with swift mics and riff tight with pitch right. Yeah, you know it's right, yeah, no one gave CJ a chance to with the cards I was dealt. I gambled my whole hand. Lady Luck read a flush. My destiny did a dance. Hades' tongue did a up. I made the fire in his land. I spit so slick, my wit's the Big Bang. This is star being born. You witness the whole thing. But you'll get a blow up, and then you'll have to explain and say that I blew like blood's color in veins. It's called a James.
It's called a James.
Yeah.
Whoa.
One time.
James.
Yeah.
No, Lil Wayne.
I didn't think you were really gonna come through with the fire.
Yo. This is the Carter, no Lil Wayne, man. Yeah, we out
President
here.
Carter, Drunken Poet coming soon right now.
Hell yeah.
Hey, thank you guys for coming. No, that was
Amazing,
incredible. No, I love the song for both of you guys, man. It was nice meeting you guys. Thank you.
Yes.
Yo, that was badass, bro.
That's my boy. That's my fuck. That's
That
why I
was
am not gonna
badass.
fucking rap.
Yo,
Drunken
who needs Hootie
How
and
you
the
supposed to follow that
Blowfish?
up? How you supposed to follow that up?
I got
Forget
nothing to
about
say
the-
except Jordan, Belfort, and Carter James signing off on a really awesome podcast, guys. Thanks for coming, buddy. You're the best, my son. I love you. All right,
Amazing.
guys.
Yo,
Share
good
this with
to
your
meet you, bro.
friends. He's gonna be more famous than I ever was. Times a
Forget
thousand.
Hootie and the
Forget
Blowfish
anyone.
or whatever. Yo, you're the
My
next.
secret
This is the
weapon.
100 mil.
Share this with everyone you know.
Just
Until next time, take care.